Welcome. Welcome to Hug Nation Live. I'm John Halcyon Stin, and I feel so blessed to share a moment, whether you are here live or watching this recording or peeking at me through the bushes in the backyard. This is a chance to share some gratitude, hear others' gratitude, take a moment in the day to focus our mind in the direction of gratitude. Things that are going well, things that we've taken for granted that are quite miraculous. Not to deny the struggles, but to build the practice of acknowledging that life is struggle. And if you can give it the attention and the reframe, you can find the lessons, the beauty, the poetry, the gifts that are around us always. And it doesn't even mean that awareness can just snap you back into joy or contentment, but it's a really healthy muscle to build in your mind, the ability to be with your struggles and expand it to include some of the good. You can be grateful for the opportunity to grow. You can be grateful for the future resilience and the grateful for the knowledge that your past strength has gotten you through all sorts of things, and it will get you through this. Grateful as the world's falling apart that you had a safe, warm bed last night. I could go on, and maybe we will. Can't wait to hear what types of things that you are feeling grateful for. If you're here, say hello. Let us know what you're grateful for, maybe where you are, anything that's on your mind. We would love to feel one another's presence in this digital connection. The idea behind Hug Nation is that it doesn't matter where your feet are, it matters where your heart is. And through intention and technology, we can congregate and feel community, feel connection, be reminded that we're not alone. Be reminded that there are millions, if not billions, of people out there with open hearts that would much rather hug you than hurt you. Good morning, Darren. Good morning, Brian. I usually start this morning with a song. I make it all up, you cannot sing along. The melody is also something that I make up here. And if you are sitting far away, come closer, come get near. Because what we share is the good stuff, the thing that makes life great. If we started any closer to 10, then we would surely be late. Oh, it's Hug Nation live today. Oh, it's Hug Nation. Wanna hear what you say? Oh, it's Hug Nation. We're silly and we play Hug Nation now. Good morning. Brian says, I'm so grateful to finally have my mother's old townhouse to myself. It's been a struggle, but I finally moved in after she passed away some years ago. What a beautiful, complex bit of gratitude. And congrats on moving in and beginning a new chapter. I'm grateful for, I had a number of wonderful things happen yesterday. I've been really enjoying video editing lately, as I think I've learned a few things and saw the way people responded to certain videos I edited in this way and that way. And so I've kind of been leaning into that, and I feel like I'm getting better. So I had some fun video editing yesterday. I might play one or two later. They're all short, like 60 seconds. And I'm grateful that I had a beautiful evening last night. Lisa and I had a double date with my parents. And we went to Balboa Park and had dinner at the Prada. It's a nice, wonderful restaurant. Ate outside as the sun was going down. It was beautiful. And then went to the Old Globe and saw Shakespeare's A Comedy of Errors. Anybody ever go to Shakespeare plays? Part of Shakespeare plays is the appreciation of the linguistic brilliance that is from so long ago. But there are times when it can be hard to follow based on the wording, but this last night, the director and the production was, they did it in this way where they had it take place in the 1990s, so the 90s, that I grew up in. The language stayed Shakespearean, except every few minutes they would drop in slang. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. It would just be like kind of street reference to somebody, like my dude, but then they would go right back into Shakespearean language. It wasn't abrupt. It was just slipping it in. And it was so helpful because I think when you watch a Shakespeare play, it takes a little bit of time to drop in. So you're like, okay, I'm understanding everything. In the beginning, the language can be a little jarring. Not jarring, but just like, for me, it doesn't land right away. Like, you're like, oh, okay, wait. What? But the way they occasionally would punctuate things with, like, duh, without for art, you're like, it was great. And then they had this music where there was a character that would play pieces of guitar like a bard, but he would play clips of 90s rock songs done that you could almost not recognize because of the style. But they heard the lyrics, like, oh, I know this song. And then between scenes and mid scenes, they would play these clips of 90s music, like the Cranberries or Soundgarden, and just never any lyrics, just like the music that would kind of set scenes. Or like Belle Biv DeVoe, this girl is poison. Not the lyrics, but they go tuck, 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 tuck. And then introduced a character. I was like, oh my God. We talked to my parents afterwards. They didn't recognize any of the music, but Lisa and I, was like, oh my gosh, we're the target demo for this. So I'm super grateful that my parents are so into theater, and that I had the opportunity to go. And I mean, they've had season tickets for 30 years or something, so they have front row seats at this incredible production that they invited us to. My parents go to plays almost every weekend night, almost every Friday, Saturday. So they probably see six plays a month, easy. Sometimes more, because they go to other theaters as well. They don't go to movies. They go to plays all the time. Good morning, Gerbot. Good morning, Sherry. Sherry's grateful for protein waffles. So I've been eating no desserts, no refined sugar as desserts. I know there's refined sugar in everything, like, tomato sauce, but I've had no desserts. I'm like week 3 now. So like after dinner last night, did not order dessert. But I had the thought the other day when I was house sitting with my nephew, like, could we have breakfast for dinner? Like, could I make pancakes? And I was like, oh, would that count as dessert? Probably would. I think syrup would count. If you're a follower of Hug Monster, the puppet that I cohabitate with, I think Hug Monster would make the case that sugar counts as a dessert. Although he would make the case that that syrup counts as a major food group that should never be denied. Good morning, Janet. Janet says, good morning from the runway at LAX. I'm grateful for many hours of magical dancing with a big group of friends at Le Freak Sonique in LA last night. A friend exclaimed, "This is our Burning Man," at one point. It made so much sense to me. Awesome. Speaking of Burning Man, one, I am so grateful that I'm not there right now. Does anybody have friends who are there and have been able to be in communication or seen videos of people posting? Apparently there was a doozy of a storm yesterday, like destroying people's yurts, knocking down communal shade structures. I saw a video from someone in Pink Heart, and they're like, this is our kitchen. Now we have the process of rebuilding. And people are posting in like the groups online saying, we need help and we need people to come bring us materials that have broken in this storm. And this is Sunday. The event opened last night at midnight. Oh my gosh. So my understanding is a lot of people are starting the week in a deficit, we got to rebuild and fix and figure out how we're going to make do with what we now have. So I do love a good windstorm. I do love that surrender feeling when you've got, the right goggles and mask, and you can just it's like traveling around another planet. Especially when it eventually ends and you can take a shower because your camp has a shower set up. But if the wind destroys your shower setup or destroys your tent, that changes the week dramatically. So I am so excited for all the adventures people have ahead of them, but also kind of grateful that I didn't, tentatively, I'm going to go to the burn and then get met with that. That would be hard. I actually was on a call yesterday with a friend who has never been to the burn, and was suddenly their daughter invited them, and so they're asking about going, and they knew almost nothing, and so they're asking about, can I just drive in Thursday and then drive out Sunday? I'm like, you could, Thursday, Sunday, you would spend as much time in line as you would awake at the burn, getting in and getting out. And the other thing that I was like, if you don't have a theme camp and you don't have an RV, you have a lot of work to do between now and you leaving. It's doable. Way more doable with a theme camp and or an RV, because there's so many basic things that other people will have considered or will be just a part of the RV that you don't have to, go, oh gosh, do I need to bring a spatula? Oh, do I need to bring if you're all by yourself, the answer is yes, I need to bring that to almost everything. But it was tough to balance it's the greatest place. It's the most incredible city that's ever existed on this planet. It exists for 1 week a year. It attracts the most interesting people in the world. But I do not want to mislead you. It's going to be a challenge. If you are, I think it's something like that. If you are if you are unwilling to experience discomfort, or are not willing to embrace discomfort and challenges as part of this adventure, I would not recommend going. it will push you, even with the best of conditions and the best preparation. Anybody else have opinions on, like, what do you do when people say, I'm thinking of going to Burning Man, or should I go? Sherry says, grateful for live Shakespeare plays. Seen a few. I saw Benedict Cumberbatch as Hamlet in London. Whoa, cool. The play we saw last night, A Comedy of Errors, in the program, it showed that the same play was at the Old Globe, which is like our one of our main theaters in San Diego. In 1968, the play happened, and Christopher Walken was one of the main characters and had a picture, like you could barely recognize him. Dawn says, hugs from cloudy Utah. Good morning. Gearbot says, that's why I wet wipe. that would be a good sticker. But that's all part of the challenge. I love a challenge. That's why I wet wipe. Yeah, they asked, like, so what if we don't have an RV and we're just there with a tent? And I was like, I did that for 12 years. Is that right? 10 years? It's absolutely can be done. And I know that at 53, my body is less capable of extreme temperatures without affecting me negatively. So I'm like trying to, there's just like how do you explain in like a 10-minute phone conversation everything you need to know about going to Burning Man? I'm gonna give you some links because I don't want to freak you out, but I've got like a 6-hour boot camp you can watch, but I gave him the burner prep Instagram page that I have. Like, these are the nuts and crannies, but there's, he's like, so how about showers? I'm like, well, and Lisa's like, and you can't let the water hit the ground. Like, oh, there's so much. Gerbot is packing right now. Says he loved Tetrasine. Sweet. So my first return from the burn, 98 and 99 of the last century, I was recruiting people. You've got to go. I mean, it's so incredible. It's like, you got to go. And I quickly changed my tone when I realized that it does someone an injustice to convince them to go. The reason is that at some point, Burning Man's hard, if not very hard. And so when you get to that point in the week, when the windstorm has not let up for 24 hours and you're just miserable, alone in your tent, eating beef jerky and just like, why am I here? And you're just, if you're in that state of this sucks, I don't feel good, I can't sleep, it's so easy for the mind to go to the person that told you this was going to be great, and you get angry at them and you blame them. And then when you eventually get through it, what you don't earn through that is a sense of accomplishment. It's not the same. If you decide that you're going to go, it's going to be hard, and you go, I'm going to go, then when it sucks and you're miserable, you might blame other people, but when you get over that kind of reactive state, that you chose this. And then when you get to the other side and you survive and you thrive and you feel transformed, you feel it's more of a like, I took on this mountain. And then I think the victory is stronger. The sense of accomplishment is stronger when you led the expedition and you finished and triumphed and peaked the mountaintop, versus sniveling as you get dragged up and then you get to the top and you're like, oh, wow, thanks, Fred, for bringing me up here. No, you're the one who did it. You get transformed. You get to blame and celebrate yourself. So I only help people who are in the process of trying to learn as much as they can. They want to be a good burner. What do I need to do? What do I need this? Then I'm like, okay, if you are en route and you are in mid-journey, okay, I got all sorts of things that I think could make it better and easier and get you to a place of participation quicker. Gerbot says, take the ticket, ride the ride. Well, I put up the video that I showed yesterday of Dear Burning Man, the letter that that Sean is bringing to the temple for me. And it's already like, I know I'm not hung up on views, but it is a kick for me. Okay, so it's at 35,000 views since I uploaded it yesterday afternoon. And so I keep getting emails from burners who I've crossed paths with through the years, or people who've learned about Burning Man through me and now are hardcore burners, or learned about Burning Man and never have been, but really feel like the education about 10 principles of Burning Man and self-expression and gifting that I have been preaching for years has affected their lives. And so they're reaching out. When the cool thing about when something goes a little viral is that it gets in front of people via algorithm. So I end up, it's like sending a Christmas card to people that I haven't seen in a long time. And then the algorithm goes, oh, you're vaguely connected to this guy. We never show you his post, but here's a post of his that everyone seems to like. So we're going to show you this popular one. So, someone was here yesterday that was a part of Citizen X, the webcam community that I helped build in 25 years ago. And, people that have, were MySpace friends of mine back in the day. And it's really been fun, responding to comments and really feeling. And the other thing that's been interesting is how many people who, like me, feel like Burning Man changed my life. It's a huge part of who I am. And I've stopped going, or I'm skipping this year. And it's tough because it's a massively important thing to me. And I need a break, or I need to focus on my business, my relationship, my health, the rest of the world. And so there's been this real connection feeling to this sub-genre of burners who still love Burning Man, but are making the choice not to go. So that's been really fun to be in these mini dialogues through comments. Sherry says, embrace the suck. It's good for you. So true. It's hard to explain that to a person who's trying to decide if they're going to Burning Man. They're like, so you get really dirty and it's hot and you really can't, it's hard to take a real shower. I'm like, here's the thing. There's something magical about that. You wouldn't choose that, but when you're in a state where everyone is covered in dust and somehow your mind lets go of its story that it needs to be clean and something's wrong if I'm dirty, and then you just are surrendered into this new state of being, and then all these other little rules and assumptions and needs. Like that, I don't need to do that actually. That's part of the liberation, is in the surrendering to the suck and realizing it's not that sucky. It's just not what my story says is what is required for joy. I mentioned my visit from my friend Dimitri. When he went to Burning Man for the first time, he was a CEO and founder of at the time, a big tech company. Last minute came to the burn. He was in a 2-man tent. If you've ever been to Burning Man, that's tenting at the burn is hard. And this is before everyone learned to put shade structures over tents. It's just in a tent. And he came out of his tent in the morning, dirty, baking in the sun. He was drinking a warm Gatorade and had this epiphany. He's like, I'm as happy or happier than I've ever been. And something in his head went, like, none of the things that I've been telling myself and learned and been told, none of the things that are part of this storyline of what I'm trying to get happy, none of those things are here. And yet, I'm feeling a contentment, a joy, a happiness, an aliveness that I never feel in my big house, in my Porsche, in my traditional successful life. And it transformed him dramatically in the most beautiful ways. It's another way of saying embrace the suck. It's good for you. Exactly, Sherry. Good morning, Rue. Good morning to you in sunny Alberta. Good morning. Or good day, whatever time it is for you. I'm trying to snap out of saying good morning because this is a globally broadcast live event and it ain't morning everywhere. Good morning, Mellow Arts. Good day, Mellow Arts. Old habits. Art says, acceptance of what is leads to amazing success. Testify. If you have not read or listened to or become familiar with Byron Katie, she's one of the most influential teachers of my education, spiritual education. Her seminal book, Loving What Is about that. You can learn to love reality or you suffer. It's very simple. Anytime you wish things were different, that's a thought that causes you suffering. Way harder to do than it is to say. And she has a program and a technique called The Work that is incredible. So, yes, I think surrender is the core lesson of Burning Man. Surrender. Because as you try to go, I just broke a pole. Now my tent's like, you got to be like, okay, my tent is now a lean-to. Okay, that's the new reality. Versus every time you go out in a conversation with somebody, how's it going? My tent broke and everything got dusty in the storm. Like, okay, let me know when you hit the surrender moment, when you're just learning to love what is in reality. Because if you can't see beyond what you think should be different, you don't see all that is incredible. Anybody else have any gratitude they'd like to share? I got a visit yesterday after this broadcast from a friend, Sean, who is an active member of the daily gratitude circles that we do in Zoom, which are open and welcome. And anytime if you are at Zoom Pacific time, want to drop in for 20, 30 minutes and share and listen to people share gratitude with cameras, so you see each other's faces. You don't have to use a camera and you don't have to share, but it's like this, but a little more intimate, not just me talking. And we had a really awesome connection. And then he took with him the thing I made for Janus to put in the temple, the thing I made for Krusty, and the letter I wrote to Burning Man. So he took these 3 items for me to put in the temple to burn. And yeah, it was really fun to hang out. And to have this, trusted courier, ambassador, bringing another part of me to the playa. He's also one of the ones that's leading the pink ride on Thursday. Well, we've made it past 30 minutes, and I am excited for the day ahead. Not sure exactly what I will do with this day, but I think it's going to be good. I might try to stay off the computer. I've been using the computer a lot with editing, and so I've got a bunch of videos create. Oh, did I say I was going to share a video? What have I finished? I'd made a promo for the, you know what? I know what I'd like to share. I made as I was going through and making the Dear Burning Man video to go with my letter, I kept finding clips of me just dancing, where I would like hand the camera and say, hey, film me for a couple seconds. So I made a little like montage of dancing. So I'm going to just play a little. So I think the oldest one in there is 99. Good morning, Lakia. Lakia is grateful for slow sleep Sundays. Good to see you. All right, it's not long, but I think it could be kind of fun. We'll see how the bandwidth treats it. There we go.
Dear Burning Man, 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 dear Burning Man.
Kind of fun. Fun to see me with long hair dancing in front of the man on hay bales. Now the man base is this elaborate construction that you can climb on and has art inside. I mean, these massive base that the man's on top of. But in old school, it was on hay bales, which, when you think about it, are potentially the most flammable thing that you could put out there. And so there were rangers that would be like, hey, no smoking, no smoking, no smoking, because there's a high probability that a careless fire device could torch the thing early. Gerbot says, nice track. Thanks. I made it with Suno. Suno.com, the AI program. Motherfucking montage! That's right, Kervat. One thing that I've learned to appreciate, especially doing the Hard on the 80s broadcasts and podcast, man, the 80s really, they knew how to make a good montage. But a good montage is really when, like, you, you tell the story like of like a Rocky montage where you show the training, this uplifting music as you show all these exercises, and by the end, they're the first time racing, they can't make it to the finish line. The last time they beat their coach, and that's my goal for my next montage. You know what? Just for fun, I'm gonna show you something else that I worked on yesterday, and I'm gonna ask your feedback on it. I'm not gonna tell you what my question is, but I'm gonna play it. It's short, and I'm gonna see if you have a. Oh, Rue, are you a Temple Guardian this year? Because here's something. So I was a Temple Guardian, a longtime Temple Guardian, reached out to me weeks ago and asked for my help in putting the word out about some aspects of the temple. You know what? I just had a thought about something. Maybe I will just do this right now. Was anybody there last year and saw anything in the temple that was either any conflict or is this gonna choke on me? Come on, you can do it. I know you can. I think you can. I think you can. I think you can. I think you can. Oh, it's just really jerky. All right, we're gonna try it anyways. Okay. So Temple Guardian reached out to me and wanted me to share this concern, this message, to try to kind of spread the word. Apparently, last year was the first time with people defacing messages on the temple. Some was in a just like a juvenile way of teasing and taunting things that other people said, but there was also a significant amount of political aggression, especially around Gaza. And so whether there was Israeli, there were like Israeli flags or Palestinian flags and things written about losses on those two sides of that conflict. Although to say two really feels like it does an injustice to the complexity of that nightmare. And they also said that there was physical altercations, that the topic and the anger was so strong that even in this place that is about grief, it became fuel and caused physical altercations in the temple. And so my understanding is there is a new policy that they will remove anything put in the temple that is inflammatory. Anything that is anti is going to be removed. They have never before removed things from the temple, but the experience last year was one that a line was crossed that had never been crossed before. So you are absolutely encouraged to share for people or places that is requiring your grief. But you cannot deny or attack or deface anyone else's grief. And you cannot express yourself in ways that attack anyone else. So as a community, we need to gently and lovingly steer people towards their personal expressions of grief and against their aggression that might be triggered from those places of grief. This is going to be a very tough year for radical inclusion, I think. It's going to be a deep practice for people who are caught up in the good guy, bad guy stories of whatever their narrative is. There's certainly reasons to be angry at people, at groups of people, at political forces. But let's help one another remember that the temple is a place for our personal expressions of grief or our personal expressions of letting go. And bring your artistic expressions that involve your anger and your aggression and satisfy it, express it elsewhere. Radically self-express as long as it can be seen as a gift by all. Wishing so much peace and radical inclusion to the point of really maybe some spiritual, miraculous healing. Have a beautiful time at home. Good luck. I love you. Trying to figure out what looks like I got all jerky. I think my computer's choking. Oh boy. Yeah, it is. Love you, Lakia. Ruth says BRC is meant to be apolitical. Interesting. That is a, oh my goodness. That is a controversial statement. I agree with that. I believe that Burning Man inspired political action, activism is awesome. But one of the magic ingredients of Burning Man is that it is radically inclusive and radical self-expression. And if your radical expression involves villainizing someone else, then it affects radical inclusion. And also, I think that when we start to put rules on what you can or can't do, or the right way, and one of the problems with political is that when people accuse Burning Man they should be more politically active, it means they think Burning Man should be more politically active in the direction that they believe. But you will find all levels and all places in the political spectrum at Burning Man. So Burning Man can't take a stance in favor of something because that is the political messaging that makes the most sense to most American burners. Because then it starts to be there's a right and a wrong. There is a correct stance. Coming through, my computer is really. Let's see if I can. Yeah. So I think that like a good example of beautiful political art was last year there was a piece, this huge metal "I'm Fine" that was made out of street signs from the Ukraine that were bullet ridden. So these metal bullet holed signs made this huge "I'm fine," which is basically a way for Ukrainians to say, I'm alive. You're not fine, but how are you? I'm fine. And so that piece was out there, and it was just a way to really bring attention to something that was important to the artists. But I mean, imagine if a similar piece was done by a Russian artist who was very convinced that that those Ukrainians were the victim of, political and propaganda manipulation, and they made a big art piece saying Ukraine needs to surrender and stop this war. It gets really. I don't have any answers, but I do agree with the idea that keep the temple free from activism and aggression. They were supposed to send me. There's got some new guidelines, but I asked 3 times after they said they were going to send it. I never got them, so which is why I never made an official video to try to help spread the word. But I said what I said today. Hopefully I got it correct what they wanted me to say. Gerbot says, I honored my mom at the temple last year. Mellow Art says, I'm hoping I can bring some special mental training home with me from this year's burn. You're bringing the good vibes here all the time. Much love. Thank you. Rue says, PRC isn't supposed to be a catch-all of the world. It's out of the world. You know, it's such an interesting conversation, because I don't think you can ask art to not be political. Because, we live in a world now where to not be political is to be indifferent to injustice and suffering. And art often speaks to injustice and suffering. I'll admit that one of the things I love about Black Rock City is it is like a out of this world experience. And I don't love it when art pulls me out of my dream experience of what is possible as a human experience and drags me into awareness of the incarceration epidemic in this country. Now, should good art take you to places that are uncomfortable? Probably. But but the temple is different, If I don't want to go spend time in the incarceration-based art or the Ukrainian-based art or the Palestinian and art, I can ride by my bike and just kind of give a head nod and go on to slide down the giant banana if I want. But the temple is so important and so sacred that it's different. Good morning, Hope. Well, it is now close to 10 o'clock in my time, so thank you so much for being here and being a part of our morning connection. Thanks for all your gratitudes and thoughts. Much love and ease and perfect adventures to all of you who are on your way or packing or maybe even at Burning Man right now. At Gratitude Circle yesterday, we had 2 participants that were there via Starlink in our Zoom call. That was before the storm started, though. Wonder how they're doing today. Well, wherever you are, let's give ourselves a big old squeeze, appreciating our bodies, appreciating this moment, appreciating the day ahead, appreciating these beautiful choices we have, these conversations and debates and ponderings, that we're able to have them from a place of safety, that we're able to have enough luxury and abundance in our lives that we can spend time in these philosophical, moral questions and figure out what is the way we want to live and act so that we feel in alignment, so that we feel that our life is purposeful without doing anything, simply by the way we choose to be. And if we can do that every day, we don't need to trudge and fight to get to a destination. We just need to act in alignment with that higher version of ourselves and trust that we will arrive where we need to arrive and have the effect and the ripples in the world that we should. So let's be super present and grateful and connected as we take a deep breath in and squeeze. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all of you beautiful love ambassadors, thank you for being here. I love you. Oh, and as promised, here's the little promo, little video I made, and if you have, I'm curious if you have the feedback that I think that is problematic. Let's see.
I am always sincere, never serious. I don't know what said that. That is a good way to undertake our lives. And it's the way that I like to lead our men's group. So if you are a man having a human experience, I sincerely hope you'll consider joining us for the next Heart Center Men's Gathering. So let's just share our experiences, our wisdom, our open hearts, so that each of us can lead joyful, productive, and purposeful lives. If this calls to you, or maybe someone you know, reach out or send them this link. September 7th in San Diego, California.
And I know I've got a little bit of a lag, so I'll just pause and just wait for a second in case anybody has a feedback on that before I launch it. Good morning, Tara! Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Rue and Gerbot and Hope. I wore this shirt last night to the dinner and a play because it was hot out. And my dad's like, is this some sort of Second Amendment thing? Your right to bear arms? He's funny. Oh my gosh, also, check out this picture that we took last night. Is this right? Look at us. Oh, I love this woman so much. I put it as my profile picture. And the first comment I got was, I'm so glad to see you happy, but you gotta lose the hobo beard. I'm like, hobo beard? Is that derogatory? I mean, not a derogatory, but is that like I think that's like hurtful. I don't know. Anyway, I crafted all these responses in my head, like, oh, really? Because you're at the top of my priorities of people that I care about what they think about my face. All right. All right. I love you. Have a beautiful Sunday. And if you are Playa bound, bring back stories.